With all the cryptid stories out there, you'd bet there's some things that were just straight up fake. Whether it's a playful prank or a whole creation meant to be profited from, there have been a bunch of hoaxes throughout cryptid history. So in this video, we'll be focusing on exactly that, and we'll be covering half of this iceberg chart since this will be a part 1 of 2. And for anyone who doesn't know, a cryptid is basically a creature whose existence isn't confirmed yet, like the Loch Ness Monster. Anyways, I'm excited for this video, so let's get straight into it with the first entry of tier 1. Minnesota Iceman. The Minnesota Iceman is an example of a cryptid hoax that comes from the 1960s and 1970s. It was basically a sideshow exhibit that portrayed a man-like creature encased in a block of ice, which was not only bizarre because it was literally someone frozen in ice, but also because it would have presented a missing link between modern humans and Neanderthals. It ended up gathering a lot of attention since the exhibit was displayed at state fairs, shopping malls, and even carnivals across the United States and Canada. It was described as a male, human-like figure approximately 6 feet tall, hairy, and with large hands and feet. It had very dark brown hair which was about 3 to 4 inches long and a distinctly flatted nose. Because it had such a detailed description, some speculated that could be a Bigfoot, Yeti, or an unknown species of primate. The promoter, Frank Hansen, claimed it was discovered in Siberia and that he was its caretaker for an absent California millionaire. The exhibit sparked considerable attention, including from the FBI, who were informed it might be a human murder victim, but did investigate because of the widespread belief it was a hoax. Eventually, the truth behind the Minnesota Man slowly unraveled as a classic case of hoax. Over the years, several individuals have come forward to debunk the myth, with the notable one being a father and son team from California, claiming they were hired to create a rubber Neanderthal body which was then displayed in a cabinet under ice for a businessman. This revelation, among others, pointed to the fact that the Iceman was a fabricated spectacle rather than a genuine cryptid discovery. Deloy's ape. The Deloy's ape was discovered by Swiss geologist Louis Francois Fernand Hector Deloys during a 1920 oil survey expedition in Venezuela. This discovery was an alleged new species that was never heard of, and the creature was even photographed to show evidence of the unknown primate species. The incident occurred between 1917 and 1920 near the Venezuelan-Colombian border. Deloys and his crew, while resting near the Tara River, encountered 2 aggressive monkeys, one which he killed and photographed. Years later, French anthropologist Georges Montandon, who was his friend, discovered the photo and speculated that the creature was in fact an anthropoid ape, meaning a missing link between apes and humans because of its human-like features and lack of a tail. It was about 4 feet 5 inches tall and had 32 teeth, characteristics not typically found in New World monkeys. Montandon even created a new genus, Amenoranthrompoides, and named the species Loicy in honor of its discoverer. Montandon ended up presenting this hypothesis at the French Academy of Sciences, but critics soon pointed out that the features of the photographed creature resembled a spider monkey, including its facial structure and sex organs. The size of the monkey and lack of tail were also points of contention. The skepticism led to heated debates, and Montandon's hypothesis was increasingly viewed as fraud, especially as he failed to provide convincing evidence to support his discovery. Today, the identity of Deloy's ape is largely regarded as a spider monkey, and the story is thus considered a hoax or a case of misidentification. Giant penguins. In February 1948, large, mysterious 3-toed footprints were discovered on a Florida beach, resembling those of an enormous sea turtle, but with a spacing that suggests a much larger creature. As more prints continued to be found over the months, the story evolved, with naturalist Ivan Sanderson even speculating that they could have been made by a giant penguin, about 15 feet tall. The mystery of these giant footprints stirred considerable curiosity and speculation. There were even some sightings where the creature was reportedly seen floating on water off the Florida Gulf Coast and from an airplane near the Suwannee River. It wasn't until 1988 that the truth behind this phenomenon was actually revealed. A local prankster, Al Williams, and Tony Signorini confessed to creating the giant penguin tracks. As the story goes, they went as far as crafting cast iron monster print shoes, which is then strapped to feet, stomping up and down the local beaches to leave the tracks, which takes some dedication. If you're wondering why though, apparently they were inspired by a photograph of fossilized dinosaur tracks on National Geographic. This whole event sort of highlighted the ease with which cryptid myths can be created, and sometimes the public's readiness to believe in the extraordinary. Surgeon's photo. The surgeon's photo is probably the most famous photo out there for the Loch Ness Monster, and is in fact a hoax. You've probably seen this photo before, and I'd go even as far as saying it's one of the most famous cryptid pictures out there. I personally had no idea it was a hoax up till now, so it kind of shocked me. It all started when the Daily Mail hired big game hunter Marmaduke Weatherhell to find the Loch Ness Monster. This was in 1933 when talk about Nessie was like everywhere in the area. Weatherhell reported finding large footprints which were later debunked as having been made with a dried hippo's foot, leading to his humiliation. After this he went away from the public, but we'll get back to him. On April 21st, 1934, the Daily Mail published the surgeon's photograph, taken by Dr. Robert Kenneth Wilson, depicting Nessie's long neck emerging from the water. For decades long, this photo was a topic of debate among believers and skeptics, and thought to be real evidence for Nessie. The truth about its authenticity ended up being revealed 60 years later, when in 1994, Christopher Sperling admitted his involvement in creating the hoax. Sperling was the stepson of Marmaduke Wetherell, the same hunter who had been publicly humiliated after failing to find the Loch Ness Monster for the Daily Mail. Wetherell, seeking redemption, crafted a plan to fabricate evidence of the monster. They built a model of the monster's neck and placed down a toy submarine. Dr. Wilson, known for his respectable status and love for practical jokes, was chosen to present the photo to the media, creating the surgeon's photograph we all know now. Hook Island Monster. The Hook Island Monster was first reported in 1964 by Robert Lesaric near Hook Island. He claimed to have encountered a giant sea serpent, estimated to be about 20 feet long with a 4-foot wide head, brownish color, and shark-like skin. This creature allegedly struck his boat with his powerful tail, flipping it over. Lesaric, along with his family and ship hand, described the creature as resembling a massive, 30-foot-long tadpole, which they initially believed to be dead. However, when Lesaric attempted to film it, the creature supposedly opened its mouth and moved towards them, causing them to flee to their boat. Interestingly, they reported a wound on the creature's side, speculating it might have been injured by a ship's propeller. The description included details like pale eyes with sill-shaped pupils on top of its head, a smooth body with no fins or spines, and black color with traverse stripes. However, skepticism surrounded this incident. Some suggest the photos were manipulated, or the creature was a school of fish, a swamp eel, or even a plastic sheet shaped like a monster. The most proper evidence against the Hook Island monster's existence came from an article in Scientific American. It revealed that Lesaric had previously sought to organize a financially lucrative expedition to find a sea serpent and had also been planning something that would bring in a lot of money related to a sea serpent. Also, the film that Lesaric claimed to have taken of the creature revealed nothing substantial, leading to the conclusion that the Hook Island monster was in fact a hoax. Kasai Rex. The Kasai Rex was a claim that there was a carnivorous dinosaur living in Africa. It started when John Johnson, a Swedish plantation owner, reported a 1932 encounter in the Kasai Valley, Democratic Republic of the Congo, describing a large creature attacking a rhinoceros. He claimed it was a T-Rex-like creature, around 43 feet long, with a reddish color and black stripes, a long snout, and numerous teeth. Also, in another expedition in 1933, which was a year later, a group of hunters, including an ivory trafficker, ventured into the Kasai Valley with the aim of capturing the creature, initially believed to be a colossal crocodile. Their experience was marked by a startling encounter with what they thought to be Kasai Rex. Described seeing a reddish tail similar to an anaconda and facing a massive, aggressive creature that caused them to flee in fear. The Kasai Rex's existence remains unproven since there's not much evidence really out there. Also, there's no known Tyrannosaurus species that have ever inhabited Africa. The hoax part of this entry focuses more on the photograph of Kasai Rex. One photograph showed what appeared to be a large monitor lizard, but was actually a cutout from a nature magazine. The other depicted a Tyrannosaurus-like creature eating a rhinoceros, but was debunked as a statue placed atop the animal. The Kasai Rex's narrative also suffers from a lack of unique local names and inconsistency with African wildlife knowledge, and I think in general it's kind of hard to believe that a dinosaur might still be alive. Ningen photo. The Ningen is a cryptid that surfaced in modern Japanese folklore in the mid-2000s. It's described as a giant humanoid whale-like being ranging from about 20 to 90 feet and said to inhabit the icy waters of the Antarctic. The first one mention of the Ningen was in a 2000 post on a Japanese online forum, 2channel. It claimed that the crew of a whale research ship spotted the creature near the vessel off the Antarctic coast. One of the key elements contributing to the Ningen legend was the circulation of photographs, which were later identified as hoaxes, like the entry says. Two of the most popular photos circulating on the internet have been proven to be digitally fabricated. One photo was created by adding arms to a dolphin image, and another was modified from a stock photo of a blue whale. The latter photo, despite its wide circulation, was criticized for its unrealistic portrayal, particularly in terms of lighting and proportions, and was deemed a product of Photoshop manipulation. In addition to these photos, there was also claims that the Ningen sightings in Google Earth images and YouTube videos. For instance, in 2005, an image captured by Google Earth near the Southern Ocean was supposed by many to depict a Ningen. However, skeptics argued that it was more likely an iceberg that coincidentally resembled the mythical creature. Similarly, in 2010, a video published by a Japanese chemical research company showed a large creature on the ocean floor, leading some to speculate it was a Ningen. However, others suggested it was likely a snaggletooth snake eel. So yeah, this entry was basically saying how the photos were hoaxes, but not necessarily the cryptid. Fiji Mermaid. The Fiji Mermaid was an artifact presented as the mummified body of a creature that was half mammal and half fish. It was showcased in P.T. Barnum's American Museum in New York in 1842, and was actually composed of the torso and head of a juvenile monkey, sewn onto the back half of a fish. The creation was about 3 feet long and, as you can see, really different from traditional depictions of mermaids. The origin of the Fiji mermaid can be traced back to early 19th century, when Japanese fishermen reportedly caught it alive, and before it died, it warned them of an illness. The fishermen then allegedly created pictures of the mermaid to protect others from the disease, selling these pictures for a cost. However, photography wasn't common at that time, making the story doubtful. It's much more likely that the mermaid was fabricated in Indonesia or Japan, using parts of different animals along with wire and paper mache. American sea captain Samuel Burr Ades purchased the mermaid for $6,000 in 1817, believing it to be real, and in 1842, Ades' son sold to Moses Kimball of the Boston Museum, who then took it to P.T. Barnum, which is how it ended up in New York. Despite discovering it was fake, Barnum saw an opportunity to profit and created an elaborate hoax to draw public interest. He created a story about Dr. Griffin, who had a genuine mermaid and was putting it on display. Despite some people recognizing it as fake, the mermaid attracted a lot of attention and significantly boosted Barnum's profits. The whereabouts of the original piece aren't really known anymore though, so some of the pictures you're seeing are actually ones from Peabody Museum at Harvard University, which was also fake since it was made by paper mache. Loch Ness Muppet. The Loch Ness Muppet hoax of 1977 centers around Anthony Doc Shields, an individual with a colorful background as a showman, wizard, and psychic entertainer. Shields claimed to have captured a photograph of the Loch Ness Monster while camping near Urquhart Castle on the shores of Loch Ness in Scotland. The photograph taken by Shields in 1977 quickly garnered public attention because of its startling clarity. Unlike many other purported images of the Loch Ness Monster, which were often blurry or ambiguous, Shields' photos seemed to provide a clear view of the creature. However, this clarity also led to skepticism among experts and the general public. The creature in the photo didn't look too real since it lacked naturalistic features and had an artificial appearance. Also, the absence of ripples in the water around the creature's neck suggested that it was not a living entity moving in the loch, but rather a stationary object. The skepticism was compounded by Shields' background, since as we said earlier, he had a reputation as a performer and entertainer. Also, an interesting detail is that despite photographing lake monsters, Shields himself didn't claim he believed in their existence. This contradiction between his actions and beliefs further fueled skepticism, since it's kinda hard to believe in something if the person giving the evidence doesn't believe it in himself, you know? Jackalope. The jackalope, a mythical creature in North American folklore, is a fusion of jackrabbit and antelope, often depicted with deer antlers. Its origins trace back to the 1930s in Douglas, Wyoming, when Douglas Herrick and his brother came across a jackrabbit carcass accidentally next to a pair of deer antlers. This sparked the idea of putting the deer antlers onto a jackrabbit carcass, which was then sold to a local hotel, marking the beginning of the jackalope's popularity. The story gained traction, leading to the production and sale of many similar jackalopes. Even the town of Douglas embraced this legend, with the Chamber of Commerce issuing playful jackalope hunting license to tourists and hosting an annual Jackalope Day celebration to commemorate the local folklore. The jackalope ended up becoming so popular that the Herrick brothers even started a business selling mounted jackalopes. Just to add though, some people actually believe the jackalope does exist. The existence of horned rabbits has been noted in European records since the 1500s, with some reports dating back to the 1800s in Wyoming. Alright, now into Tier 2, Hodug. The Hodug comes from American folklore and is possibly connected to Native American stories of water panthers and other spirit beings. Its earliest known print reference dates back to 1870 in Kent County, Michigan. Folklorist Charles Lee Brown described the Hodug as a ferocious beast with horns, bulging eyes, claws, and a ridge of sharp spikes along its back and tail. It was said to feed on mud turtles, water snakes, muskrats, and occasionally human flesh. The creature supposedly never laid down, sleeping against tree trunks, and could only be captured by cutting deeply into its trees. The hoax element of the Hodug story emerged in 1893 when Eugene Shepard, a timber cruiser and land surveyor, claimed to have captured a live Hodug. In 1895, his supposed capture was used in advertisement for the Centralia Lumber Company. To further promote the Hodug, Shepard, with the help of a woodcarver named Lou Kearney, created a fake Hodug for the 1896 Oneida County Fair. They crafted the body from wood, covering it with ox hide and added cattle horns and movable parts. This fabricated creature was said to eat only white bulldogs on Sundays. Shepard's admission of the hoax came when the Smithsonian planned an investigation visit. Even though it was proven fake, the town of Rhinelander embraced the Hodug as a mascot, creating statues, paintings, and toys, and celebrating the creature in local culture. Jenny Hanover. A Jenny Hanover is a modified carcass of a ray or skate, crafted by hand and dried to mimic a mummified fictional creature such as a demon or dragon. This practice originated in the 16th century, with these specimens often sold as curiosities to sailors and collectors. Jenny Hanovers have been fashioned to resemble various mythical creatures, including devils, angels, and dragons, and some writers have speculated that the sea monk, another legendary creature, might have been a Jenny Hanover. The earliest known depiction of a Jenny Hanavar was in 1558 by Connor Justner. Justner warned against believing these miniature dragons were monsters, a common misconception at the time. One of the most prevalent misconceptions was that Jenny Hanavars were basilics, legendary creatures said to kill with their gaze. Since no one could definitely describe the basilics, it was easy to pass off Jenny Hanavars as these fierce entities in the 16th century. Owlman. The Owlman, a creature from Cornish folklore, is an owl-like humanoid reported in Mountain, Cornwall, UK in 1976. It's sometimes compared to the American Mothman legend, which is a popular cryptid. The story began with Tony Doc Shields, which we mentioned before too, claimed to investigate a sighting by two girls, June and Vicky Melling, who saw a large winged creature hovering above St. Mawnan and St. Stephen's Church on April 17, 1976. Shields dubbed the creature Owlman based on a drawing provided by one of the girls. The tale gained further attention with another sighting by two teenagers, Sally Chapman and Barbara Perry. This happened in July 1976 and they described a large owl with pointed ears and glowing eyes. Subsequent reports of Owlman sightings near the church occurred sporadically in 1978, 1979, 1989, and 1995. In 2000, a loud, owl-like sound was reported in the Mullion churchyard. Some, like author Joe Nickel, suggest that barn owls, commonly nesting in church towers, were likely the source of these sightings. Revere and Loyal and Farnothope also proposed that a Eurasian eagle owl might be the basis of the legend. However, occult historian Gareth Medway suggests that the sightings might have been a hoax by Shields himself, who started the tales, since he was known for fabricating such stories, as most witnesses were directly or indirectly connected to him. Shields had a reputation as a public seeker, known for his dramatic antics and involvement in other dubious events, so the link between him and the sightings have caused people to think they're a hoax. Deadest Lake Monster. The Deadest Lake Monster, a famous Canadian cryptid, was first reported in the summer of 1972 at Deadest Lake near Victoria, British Columbia. The initial encounter involved two teenagers, Robin Fluin and Gordon Pike, who described seeing a large creature emerging from the water. This creature, they claimed, chased them to their car, even managing to slice open one of the teens' hands during the pursuit. The boys then reported the incident to Royal Canadian Mounted Police, or the RCMP, describing the monster as about 5 feet tall, 120 pounds, covered in scales with a fish-like mouth, webbed and clawed hands and feet, and razor-shaped fins on its arms, legs, and head. The RCMP launched an investigation but found no physical evidence or additional witnesses, and said it as a hoax since the description the boys gave was like the exact same as the Gill Man from the film The Creature from the Black Lagoon. The sighting came just a few days after the film came out too, so that was also taken into consideration. After just 4 days from the initial report, two other individuals claimed to have seen the creature on the opposite side of the lake. In the second sighting, 12-year-old Mike Gold and 14-year-old Russell Van Ness reported seeing the monster emerge from the lake, look around, and then submerge again. Years later, Van Ness admitted that they fabricated their story after hearing about the first report. Despite this admission, the original witness, Fluellen and Pike, have consistently maintained their story over the years. Additionally, there are legends from Native Americans about a part reptile, part human creature that lived in the lake. Lake Worth Monster. The Lake Worth Monster, a creature from Texan folklore, is said to dwell near Lake Worth, just outside Fort Worth, Texas. It is described as part man and part goat with scales and long claws, and captured public attention in July 1969 after reports of sightings by local citizens. The most notable incidents include the monster landing on a man's car after leaping from a tree and throwing a tire at a group of people. A photograph claimed to be of the monster was taken by Alan Plaster and published in newspapers, leading locals to flock to the lake at night in hopes of a glimpse. However, later investigations by local police found no evidence of the creature's existence in the Lake Worth and Greer Island area. Alan Plaster later suggested the photograph he took showing a man-sized white furball was part of a prank. Reports of the Lake Worth monster stopped with the resumption of school, leading men to believe that the incidents were pranks made by local high school students. This was further supported by an anonymous letter received in 2005 by a reporter at the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, claimed to be from one of the 3 classmates who decided to go out to Lake Worth and scare people, as he quoted, using a tinfoil mask. A 2009 report in Fort Worth, Texas magazine also featured an unidentified man confessing to the tide-throwing incident. Despite these revelations, some, like cryptozoologist blogger Craig Woolheater, have suggested that the Lake Worth monster could be an undiscovered, uncatalogued primate species that walks on 2 legs. Cardiff Giant. The Cardiff Giant is one of the most notorious archaeological hoaxes in American history. It was unearthed on October 16, 1869 by workers digging a well in Cardiff, New York. It was a 10-foot tall, roughly 3,000-pound statue made to appear like a petrified man. George Hall, a New York tobacconist and atheist, created the giant following a heated debate over a biblical passage suggesting the existence of giants. Hall's intention was to demonstrate the gullibility of people when it came to supernatural claims. Hall hired men to acquire a large block of gypsum in Iowa under the pretense of creating a monument for Abraham Lincoln. The block was then shipped to Chicago, where sculptors were secretly hired to carve the giant. Hall was actually really good at creating an age appearance for the giant, as he used various stains and acids. The giant was then transported and buried on the farm of Hall's cousin, William Newell. Nearly a year later, Newell orchestrated its discovery. The giant quickly became a sensation, drawing hundreds of visitors daily and generating significant profit for the town. Initially, some believed the giant to be a petrified human, while others thought it was a statue. Yale paleontologist Othniel C. Marsh debunked the giant as a hoax, noting it was made of gypsum, which wouldn't have preserved tool marks if it had been buried for centuries. Despite this, Hall sold his interest in the giant for a substantial sum. Showman P.T. Barnum created a replica of the giant, further popularizing the story. Hall eventually confessed to the hoax, stating his intention was to expose the credulous nature of religious believers and challenge literal interpretations of biblical texts. Both the original giant and Barnum's replica were later revealed as fakes in court. Sewer monster caught on camera. The sewer monster caught on camera incident occurred in Houston and sparked significant public interest and speculation because of its unusual and somewhat disturbing footage. After a period of heavy rainfall, a horrifying, squirmish mass was discovered on the street outside an apartment block. The footage of this creature quickly went viral, linked to widespread speculation on social media about the nature of the creature. Upon closer examination though, the organism was later identified as not a singular entity, but a mass of intermixed tubifax worms. These worms, known for feeding on detritus or dead organic matter, are similar to common earthworms, and are usually found in soil near water bodies like rivers and lakes. It's likely that the rainstorm washed them out in the open, creating the weird scene captured on camera. This isn't the first time such a phenomenon has occurred though. A similar incident occurred in 2009 where massive worms were found in a sewer. Tubifax worms have unique behavior in the absence of soil. They coil around each other. According to bryozoologist Timothy Wood, the contractions seen in the video are due to a single worm contracting, which almost simultaneously stimulates all others to do the same. This results in the appearance of a single large muscle, which contributed to a monster illusion in the viral video. Ica stones. The Ica stones are a collection of andesite stones from the Ica province in Peru, known for their engraved motifs. These stones, largely regarded as modern hoaxes, often depict anachronistic scenes or objects such as dinosaurs and advanced technology. Engraved artwork on the stones was first reported in Peru during the 15th century, but the modern set of Ica stones, popularized in the 1960s and 1970s, were first brought to attention by physician Javier Cabrera de Cuellar. Cabrera's collection, comprising about 20,000 stones, was mainly acquired from farmer Basilo Utsaya, who later admitted to forging the stones. Despite these admissions, the stones have never been examined in an archaeological context, and no other evidence supports the advanced civilization supposedly depicted on them. The dinosaurs on the stones reflect outdated ideas from the 1960s, and include species not known to have lived in South America. These factors make it highly unlikely that they are depictions made by people who witnessed living dinosaurs. Despite being widely seen as hoaxes, the Ica stones remain popular among certain pseudoscientific communities, such as young Earth creationists and ancient astronaut proponents. It is acknowledged that some of the Ica stones might be genuine pre-Columbian artifacts, but this is mainly maintained for stones not part of Cabrera's collection, and which feature more conventional pre-Columbian motifs. Generally, historians and archaeologists consider the Ica stones to be forgeries created for profiting from tourist buyers. Ken Feder, in his Encyclopedia of Dubious Archaeology, described the Ica stones as one of the most transparent and absurd archaeological hoaxes ever perpetrated. Alright, on to tier 3, Morgauer. The Morgauer, a sea serpent in Cornish folklore, is said to inhabit the sea near Falmouth Bay, Cornwall, England. The legend described the creature as first appearing near Pendennis Point in 1975, characterized by a trunk, a very long neck, and black or brown skin, resembling that of a sea lion. Local fishermen blamed bad weather and poor catches on the sighting of the Morgauer. Some versions of the story trace the creature's appearance back to World War I, following the torpedoing of a British merchant ship by a German submarine, describing the Morgauer as a 6-foot-long entity resembling a crocodile with 4 webbed feet and a powerful tail. In 1976, the Falmouth Packet newspaper received 2 blurry photos of the Morgauer, signed Mary F. However, a name we've been hearing all this time, most of the Morgauer lore is linked to Irish artist and magician Tony Doc Shields, who spent significant time in Cornwall during the 1970s and thought to have created the name Morgauer. The Mary F photos, believed to be his work, appeared to show a plasticine model rather than a real animal. Also, a skull claimed to be Morgauer's, found on the Durgan Beach in 1975, turned out to be that of a pilot whale. These findings suggest that the Morgauer legend is more likely a creative hoax than a genuine cryptid sighting. And yeah, Tony Doc Shields has been mentioned 3 times now. Drop bear. The drop bear is a fictional creature in contemporary Australian folklore. It is often described as a predatory, carnivorous version of the koala. This mythical animal is a popular subject in tall tales designed to scare tourists, portraying drop bears as large, vicious marsupials that inhabit treetops and attack unsuspecting people by dropping onto their heads from above. The origin of the drop bear myth is unclear. Some attribute to a sketch in Paul Hogan's comedy show where koalas jump out of trees to attack a man. Others believe it started as a scary story for children or a trick on soldiers visiting Australia. The myth has been mentioned in various Australian publications since the 1960s. These stories are typically used as a joke to amuse locals and confuse outsiders, similar to North American fearsome critters like the jackalope. Tourists are the main targets though, with tales often accompanied by absurd advice purported to deter drop bear attacks, such as placing forks in hair, spraying Vegemite or toothpaste behind ears or in armpits, urinating on oneself, and speaking English in an Australian accent. The Australian Museum even contributed to the myth by creating an entry for the drop bear. Describing it as a large, arboreal predatory marsupial related to the koala and detailing its physical characteristics in a manner similar to a real animal species. This entry, a small display in the museum, showcased the drop bear as more of a playful part of Australian cultural humor. Diplocaulus. The Diplocaulus hoax involves a series of photographs that have circulated online, depicting what appears to be a living specimen of the extinct amphibian Diplocaulus. These images initially caused confusion and excitement, as Diplocaulus, known for its distinctive boomerang-shaped head, went extinct approximately 270 million years ago. In one instance, a photograph claimed to show a mysterious creature found in Malta. Professor Patrick Scambry of the University of Malta identified the creature in the photograph as a Diplocaulus, but noted that the images had to be fake given the animal's long extinction. He speculated that the depicted creature was a model. This image was later traced back to a Japanese model maker who had created it in 1992 for a contest. In a separate instance, another model of Diplocaulus, known as Dyad, Diplocaulus in a dish, created confusion in 2007, being mistaken for a real creature. This model even featured in British zoologist and cryptozoologist Dr. Carl P. Schunker's book, Extraordinary Animals Revisited. But yeah, props to people who created the models, cause they did look pretty real. Metapeg creature. The Metapeg creature, a supposed cryptid, was revealed to be a hoax orchestrated by a taxidermist named Urso Monarez Ruiz, nephew of Maria Moreno. This hoax involved the corpse of a skinny squirrel monkey, which Ruiz modified by removing its ears and covering it with hair and fluids of various animals. The creature was then sold for 300,000 pesos, which is about 23,000, to Jamie Maussan, a well-known figure in ufology. Ruiz later confessed in an internet forum to creating the hoax, saying that he not initially claimed the creature was real. It was Maussan who made that assertion. Despite the revelation, the story of Metapeg creature gained traction and circulated globally, even undergoing scientific tests. Ruiz took pride in the fact that his creation had fooled people around the world, including scientists. Alejandro Franz, an investigator, pointed out inconsistencies in Ruiz's claims and accused Maussan, Marin Moreno, and Marco Salazar of being complicit in the hoax from the start. He basically suggested that their decision to conduct DNA testing, which was not their usual practice with such finds, was indicative of their knowledge that the results would be inconclusive. Observers had noted from the beginning that the creature resembled a skinned monkey, casting doubt on its authenticity from the outset. Pacific Northwest Tree Octopus. The Pacific Northwest Tree Octopus is a famous internet hoax created in 1998 by humor writer Lyle Zapato. This fictitious cephalopod, named Octopus proctolobus, a blend of Latin and Spanish words meaning Pacific tree octopus, was described as an endangered species capable of living both in water and on land. It was supposedly found in the Olympic Natural Forest and nearby rivers, where it spawned and laid eggs, with Sasquatch as its major predator. This hoax gained notable attention and has been used extensively in educational settings to teach internet literacy and critical evaluation of online information. For instance, in a 2007 study by Lua et al., 53 American school children were exposed to a website about this fake species and asked to assess its credibility. Surprisingly, more than half of the participants said the website was very reliable. Only 11% considered it unreliable, and interestingly, those skeptical students had just completed a lesson on being cautious about online information. A similar study in 2017 in the Netherlands showed that out of 27 school children, only 7% identified the website as a hoax. This study highlighted how the educational setting, trust in authorities, and emotional engagement influenced the children's perception of the website's authenticity. The hoax's impact was further acknowledged in 2018, when its website was included in the Library of Congress's Web Culture's Web Archive, recognizing its role in digital culture and internet literacy. Partridge Creek Beast. The Monster of Partridge Creek is a fictional tale published in 1908 by French writer Georges Dupuy in Je sais toi and The Strand magazine. It's set in the Yukon Territory of Canada and narrates purported encounters with a large dinosaur at Partridge Creek. In the story, a banker, James Lewis Butler, and a miner, Tom Leemore, tell Dupuy about their experience while moose hunting near Clear Creek. The animals they were pursuing suddenly fled in terror, and the men followed tracks they believed were made by a large animal into a gorge. Dupuy, along with a French missionary and 5 unnamed First Nations individuals, joined the search. They reportedly observed a 30-foot-long creature with a hairy body for 10 minutes. DuPont and Butler became the subject of ridicule in Golden City following the report of the creature. The Dawson Daily Nugget even published a sarcastic piece, likening DuPont to Edgar Allan Poe. The story included a letter from the French missionary claiming he saw the creature again, carrying a dead caribou. Despite its fictional nature, the tale was scrutinized in the scientific community. Naturalist Richard Lydecker, in a 1908 issue of Knowledge and Illustrated Scientific News, expressed skepticism about the existence of carnivorous dinosaurs in northern Alaska, stating it was implausible and contradicted the belief that larger dinosaurs lived in warmer climates. Ozark Howler. The Ozark Howler is a creature from Arkansas folklore and is said to inhabit the Ozark Mountains, a region known for its stunning natural beauty. It's described as a dog-bear-cat hybrid and has sparked curiosity and speculation for years. In 1999, the cryptid became a hot topic in online forums and local news, with reports describing it as a bear-sized creature with horns, shaggy fur, glowing eyes, and a distinctive howl. However, suspicions about the authenticity of these sightings soon arose. An investigation revealed that in 1994, University of Arkansas fraternity members created a fictional story about a horned black hound in the Ozarks as a prank. The story gained traction and led to numerous alleged sightings over the years. Despite these revelations, some people remain convinced of the creature's existence, pointing to tales of the howler dating back to the 1800s. The mysterious nature of the Ozark Howler is further complicated by historical references, such as those from American frontiersman Daniel Boone, who allegedly encountered a mysterious horned creature in the Ozarks in the 1800s. These accounts blend with folklore, adding layers of the legends to the Ozark Howler, but because of the university thing, that's where the hoax part comes in. Geff the Talking Mongoose. Geff, also known as the Talking Mongoose or the Daily Spook, is a famous case from the early 1930s on the Isle of Man. The Irving family, who lived at Cashin's Cap near Dalby, claimed to have encountered the talking mongoose named Geff. They report that Geff communicated with them, guarded their house, and even accompanied them on trips. Despite its popularity in the tabloid press and the interest of paranormal investigators like Harry Price, Nandan Fodor, and others, evidence for Geff's existence was lacking, with supposed physical evidence being attributed to the Irvings as sheepdog. In 1935, Harry Price and Richard S. Lambar investigated the case, producing The Haunting of Cashin's Gap. They found that a hair sample attributed to Geff was actually dog hair. Also, Price's observations of the farmhouse test that a structure can enable the projection of voices through wooden panels, leading to suspicions of ventriloquism. Nandan Fodor, a researcher who stayed with the Irvings, didn't encounter Geff. He developed a psychological theory that Geff was a manifestation of a part of Jim Irving's personality. Skeptics, including locals and reporters, believed the phenomenon was a hoax, possibly perpetrated by Voirrey Irving using ventriloquism. Some, like media scholar Jeff Nisance, even suggest that Geff was an imaginary companion created by Voir. Fearsome critters. Fearsome critters are a unique aspect of North American folklore, particularly associated with logging camps in the Great Lakes region. These telltale animals were part of oral tradition in the early 20th century, serving as an entertainment or a means of hazing newcomers. Stories about fearsome critters were often exaggerated or completely fabricated, involving elaborate gags where narrators convincingly described encounters with these mythical creatures, convincing listeners of their existence. These myths were spread across the continents by lumberjacks who traveled between camps. The fearsome critters were more comical than frightening, with a greater emphasis on behavioral traits rather than physical appearance. Some were portrayed as ordinary animals with unusual behavior, while others were more fantastical, pushing the limits of biomechanics and physics. The literature on fearsome critters also included detailed descriptions of their habitats and appearances, but there is a lack of consensus on specific critters, with some regional variations in their descriptions. For example, the Wampus Cat's portrayal varied significantly across different sources. Alright, now into the last tier for this video, tier 4. Santa Monica Giant Squid. The Santa Monica Giant Squid was a well-circulated hoax that captured significant public attention. In this incident, an image of a supposedly enormous giant squid was washed ashore in Santa Monica, California. The photo and accompanying story, which suggested that the squid was a victim of radioactive gigantism, quickly went viral. However, it was soon revealed that the images in the story were nothing more than a fabrication. The picture used in the hoax was actually of a real giant squid, but one that had washed ashore in Spain in 2013. The story and image were published as a piece of satire on a website known for its humorous and fictional content, yet managed to fool a large audience. Over 500,000 people interacted with the image on Facebook, demonstrating how easy such hoaxes can spread in the digital age. Ompax. In 1872, a fish named Ompax batuloides was supposedly discovered in Australia. It was described as a poisonous fish and was even listed as a real species in some fish lists until the 1930s. However, it turns out the Ompax was actually a hoax created by people at the Guyanite Station in Queensland. They made the fake fish by combining parts of different animals, the body of a mullet, the tail of an eel, and the head of a platypus or needlefish. They served this concoction to Carl Theodor Steiger, the director of the Brisbane Museum. The expert then published a description of the supposed species in the Proceedings of the Linnean Society of New South Wales. However, doubts about the existence of ompaks arose as early as 1881, but the name continued to appear in fish lists for many years. Starcher claimed that the fish was brought to him by indigenous people from a nearby location. In 1930, an anonymous confessor revealed that the specimen was made from a tail of an eel, the body of a mullet, and the head of an Australian lungfish. The addition of a platypus bill was also mentioned in the confession. Castelnau chose the name Ompax for the genus, probably to add to the mystery surrounding the fish. So basically, Ompax was a fake fish created as a joke, and it fooled some experts for a while before its true nature was actually revealed. Jake the Alligator Man. Displayed at Marsh's Free Museum in Long Beach, Washington, Jake represents an alleged half-man, half-alligator creature, though in reality he's a clever piece of taxidermy. The origins of Jake trace back to 1967 when he was purchased for $750 from an antique store by the owners of Marsh's Free Museum. Since then, Jake has become a popular exhibit, attracting visitors intrigued by his mysterious and bizarre appearance. In 1993, the Weekly World News featured a postcard image of Jake on its front page, claiming a half-human, half-alligator discovered in Florida swamp, which further fueled his legend and mystique. Despite the obvious questions about the authenticity, Jake the Alligator Man has had a significant cultural impact in northwestern United States. He has garnered a sort of cult following, and his birthday is celebrated annually in August with a variety of events, including a bachelor party, car show, bridal contest, and live music. This celebration reflects the quirky and whimsical nature of cryptid hoaxes, where a blend of humor, creativity, and a suspicion of disbeliefs come together to create a unique communal experience. Interestingly, the concept of an alligator man isn't confined to Jake alone though. Historical accounts and folklore dating back to the 1700s mention man-like reptiles in the Everglades, suggesting a longer tradition of such cryptid stories. These tales include speculation about migratory patterns of these creatures and their possible connection to other hybrid cryptids, like the New Jersey Gator Man. These stories often feature the creatures communicating with grunts and howls, adding to the mystery behind the Alligator Man myth. Thunderbird Photo Hoaxes. The Thunderbird photo hoax is a tale surrounding an alleged photograph that has never been definitely proven to exist. The mystery began with a report in the April 1890 edition of the Tombstone Epitaph, detailing two ranchers in Tombstone, Arizona, who encountered and killed a winged monster. Described as resembling a huge alligator with an extremely elongated tail and an immense pair of wings, and it was said to have been photographed with its corpse nailed to a barn. The story was later republished in various newspapers, but with no mention of the photograph. It resurfaced in 1963 in an article by Jack Pro in Saga magazine, where he claimed the bird resembled a thunderbird, a mythological creature in Native American culture. Pro's description of the photograph, however, contradicts earlier reports, as none of the original publications has stated any photos were taken. This discrepancy led to speculation that the photo might be an example of the Mandela effect, where multiple people share a similar false memory. Over the years, many have claimed to have seen this photograph in various media outlets, but no one has provided proof of its existence. The surge revival in other media, such as the Sunday Examiner, added layers of the mystery, including claims of similar sightings and supposed photographic evidence. Numerous other fake photos have emerged over the years though. For example, a photo created in 2010 by Christopher Smith depicting a captured pterosaur was falsely circulated as a real Thunderbird photo. There were also two alleged photos of pterosaurs from the American Civil War, which were later revealed to be part of a television show, further complicating the search for the truth behind what this photograph actually was. The James Curry Film. The James Curry Film is a film that allegedly captured the Loch Ness Monster and is shrouded in mystery and skepticism. The story of this film dates back to 1938 when James Curry, a retired bank manager from London, reportedly filmed the Loch Ness Monster. He used a movie camera with a 6-inch telephoto lens and captured the creature, described as having a long neck, 3 humps, and a triangular-shaped head, at the Loch Ness. Curry allegedly captured up to 3 minutes of footage of this grayish-brown creature. However, instead of sharing this potentially groundbreaking evidence, he decided to store the film in a bank vault in London, until such time as the public takes such matters seriously, as he quoted. The existence of the James Curry film, however, has never been verified. Unlike the McCurry film and other alleged Loch Ness Monster footage, there is scant information on Curry's family or genealogy, and no death certificate or any other corroborating information has been found. A search of 1938 press clippings revealed nothing about this incident, casting further doubt on the film's authenticity. The story resurfaced in the monster hunting community in the 1970s, but inquiries and investigations into the film, the people mentioned in the related article, and the author of the article, Charles Frozer, turned up no concrete evidence or leads. Notably, no one from the time of the original article had heard of Fraser, suggesting he might have been a freelance writer, not a prominent employee at the Aberdeen Evening Press. Given the lack of evidence and the discrepancies in the accounts, it's why I believe that the 1970 article discussing the James Curry film is a fabrication. The reasons behind this potential hoax are unclear, and the truth remains mysterious. So that ends the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Consider liking, subscribing, and commenting, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.